And now, Chapter 32, Deliverance of Dvivida Gorilla. While Shukdev Goswami continued to speak on the transcendental pastimes and characteristics of Lord Krishna, King Parikshit, upon hearing him, became more and more enthusiastic and wanted to hear further. Shukdev Goswami next narrated the story of Dvivida, the gorilla who was killed by Lord Balaram. This gorilla was a great friend of Bhaumasura or Narakasura, who was killed by Krishna in connection with his kidnapping 16,000 princesses from all over the world. Dvivida was the minister of King Sugriv. His brother Minda was also a very powerful gorilla king. When Dvivida gorilla heard the story of his friend Bhaumasura's being killed by Lord Krishna, he planned to create mischief throughout the country in order to avenge the death of Bhaumasura. His first business was to set fires in villages and towns and industrial and mining places, as well as the residential quarters of the mercantile men who were busy dairy farming and protecting cows. Sometimes he would uproot a big mountain and tear it to pieces. In this way, he created great disturbances all over the country, especially in the province of Katwa. The city of Dwarka was situated in this Katwa province, and because Lord Krishna used to live in this city, Dvivida specifically made it his target of disturbance. Dvivida was as powerful as 10,000 elephants. Sometimes he would go to the seashore, and with his powerful hands, he would create so much disturbance in the sea that he would flood the neighboring cities and villages. Often he would go to the hermitages of great saintly persons and sages and cause a great disturbance by smashing their beautiful gardens and orchards. Not only did he create disturbances in that way, but sometimes he would pass urine and stool on their sacred sacrificial arenas. He would thus pollute the whole atmosphere. He also kidnapped both men and women, taking them away from their residential places to the caves of the mountains. Putting them within the caves, he would close the entrances with large chunks of stone, like the bringi insect, which arrests and carries away many flies and other insects, and puts them within the holes of the trees where it lives. Thus Dvivida regularly defied the law and order of the country. Not only that, but he would sometimes pollute the female members of many aristocratic families by forcibly raping them. While creating such great disturbances all over the country, sometimes he heard very sweet musical sounds from Raivatik mountain, and so he entered that mountainous region. There he saw Lord Balaram in the midst of many beautiful young girls, enjoying their company while singing and dancing. He became captivated by the beautiful features of Lord Balaram's body, whose every feature was very beautiful, decorated as he was with a garland of lotus flowers. Similarly, all the young girls present, dressed and garlanded with flowers, exhibited much beauty. Lord Balaram seemed fully intoxicated from drinking the Varuni beverage, and his eyes appeared to be rolling in a drunken state. Lord Balaram appeared just like the king of the elephants in the midst of many she-elephants. This gorilla, by the name Dvivida, could climb up on the trees and jump from one branch to another. Sometimes he would jerk the branches, creating a particular type of sound like kila, kila, so that Lord Balaram was greatly distracted from the pleasing atmosphere. Sometimes Dvivid would come before the women and exhibit different types of caricatures. By nature, young women are apt to enjoy everything with laughter and joking. And when the gorilla came before them, they did not take him seriously, but simply laughed at him. However, the gorilla was so rude that even in the presence of Balaram, he began to show the lower part of his body to the women, and sometimes he would come forward to show his teeth while moving his eyebrows. He disrespected the women, even in the presence of Balaram. Lord Balaram's name suggests not only that he is very powerful, but that he takes pleasure in exhibiting extraordinary strength. So he took a stone and threw it at Dvivid. The gorilla, however, artfully avoided being struck by the stone. In order to insult Balaram, the gorilla took away the earthen pot in which the Varuni was kept. Dvivid, being thus intoxicated with his limited strength, began to tear off all the valuable clothes worn by Balaram and the accompanying young girls. He was so puffed up that he thought that Balaram could not do anything to chastise him, and he continued to offend Balaramji and his companions. When Lord Balaram personally saw the disturbances created by the gorilla and heard that he had already performed many mischievous activities all over the country, he became very angry and decided to kill him. Immediately, he took his club in his hands. The gorilla could understand that now Balaram was going to attack him. To counterattack Balaram, he immediately uprooted a big oak tree, and with great force, he came and struck at Lord Balaram's head. Lord Balaram, however, immediately caught hold of the big tree and remained undisturbed, just like a great mountain. To retaliate, he took his club named Sunanda and began to hit the gorilla with it, severely injuring the gorilla's head. Currents of blood flowed from the gorilla's head with great force, but the stream of blood enhanced his beauty like a stream of liquid manganese coming out of a great mountain. The striking of Balaram's club did not even slightly disturb him. On the contrary, he immediately uprooted another big oak tree, and after clipping off all its leaves, he began to strike Balaram's head with it. But Balaram, with the help of his club, tore the tree to pieces. Since the gorilla was very angry, he took another tree in his hands and began to strike Lord Balaram's body. Again, Lord Balaram tore the tree to pieces, and the fighting continued. Each time the gorilla would bring out a big tree to strike Balaram, Lord Balaram would tear the tree to pieces by the striking of his club, and the gorilla Dvivid would clutch another tree from another direction and again attack Balaram in the same way. As a result of this continuous fighting, the forest became treeless. When no more trees were available, Dvivid took help from the hills and threw large pieces of stone, like rainfall, upon the body of Balaram. Lord Balaram also, in great sporting mood, began to smash those big pieces of stone into mere pebbles. The gorilla, being bereft of all trees and stone slabs, now stood before him and waved his strong fists. Then, with great force, he began to beat Lord Balaram's chest with his fists. This time, Lord Balaram became most angry. Since the gorilla was striking him with his hands, Lord Balaram would not strike him back with his own weapons, the club or the plow. Simply with his fist, he began to strike the collarbone of the gorilla. This striking proved fatal to Dvivid, who immediately vomited blood and fell unconscious upon the ground. When the gorilla fell, all the hills and forests appeared to totter. After this horrible incident, all the siddhas, great sages, and saintly persons from the upper planetary systems showered flowers on the person of Lord Balaram and vibrated sounds glorifying his supremacy. All of them began to chant, "All glories to Lord Balaram. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. By killing this great demon, Dvivid, you have initiated an auspicious era for the world." All such jubilant sounds of victory were heard from outer space. After killing the great demon, Dvivid, and being worshipped by showers of flowers and glorious sounds of victory, Balaram returned to his capital city, Dwarka. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second volume, 32nd chapter of Krishna, Deliverance of Dvivid Gorilla.